Cogno movement helps you address chronic issues and patterns, and it all starts with a soccer ball. This is Robert Manni, host of Guys TV, and this week my special guest is Bill McKenna, developer of the Cogno system movement, and Liz Larson. It all starts right here, right now, on Guys TV. You can also catch me on KCAA Radio in Southern California and my worldwide podcast, Guys TV, Guys Radio. Thanks for your support. Okay, Guys Radio, the interview portion of our show, which I get to talk to some really cool people, and we get to learn a lot of things together. And I've got two great guests together. They are the brain trust of the Cogno movement, if you will, and they're really fantastic people, Bill McKenna and Liz Larson. Let me start out by saying, imagine if you could raise the consciousness of the planet by deploying the highest level tools for clearing old patterns and creating lasting change. That's what we're going to talk about today. Cogno movement is a cognitive movement exercise system designed for quick and powerful changes in chronic problems and patterns. Bill McKenna founded Cogno movement in 2017 while experimenting with ways to minimize pain for clients after he noticed the people he was seeing were suffering. He wanted to offer them relief and discovered that if he could activate the brain while focusing on the body, he could create real lasting change. And he came up with the idea of using a soccer ball as an instrument in this, and his wife, Michelle, sewed the first prototype Cogno ball. And just like that, the Cogno movement journey began. Liz and Bill were creating the secrets of the master's seminars when Cogno movement was born. Liz created the language for this new system and found ways to train others. She added her own tools to the system while working with her clients, and soon Cogno movement began its quantum expansion. Liz wrote the first Cogno movement protocols for practitioners for the launch in San Diego, California. Today, Bill and Liz are creating miracles every day with Cogno movement practitioners around the world. They also host New Lives Perspectives on UK Health Radio every week. And I'm proud to say that Bill is not only a teacher for me, he's a friend, and he's worked on me, and I've had amazing results. So I am a huge advocate of the Cogno movement. And Liz has been wonderful also with me, and their whole team and the practitioners are out there are really spiritually generous. And it's one of the things I really like about Bill, Liz, and the whole team. They really want to help. And I'm so proud and pleased to welcome them to Guys Radio. Welcome, Bill and Liz.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Robert.
All right, and that's our show. I just provided a kind of a general 30,000-foot overview of the work you guys do together with Cogno movement. But for the benefit of the audience, it would be helpful to hear about what Cogno movement actually is, how it works, and what the benefits are from both of you.
Go ahead, Bill. You go first.
Oh, well, the Cogno movement system is a way that you can approach a problem from a completely different perspective. When you focus on the feeling that you have about anything, let's say it's a problem with your boss, with your wife or husband or child or parent, whatever the thing might be, and you begin to move your body in ways that it's not used to, right? We found that we can process an issue, meaning create a situation where you get emotional amnesia. You don't feel it anymore, on top of getting new perspectives, new realizations, understanding the lesson that was brought to you with this relationship. And we have found a way to access kind of the hidden information that is in your subconscious or in your actual expressed in your physical body, in your neurology. We found a way to access those truths. And with that, you get just very fast growth, and you're free is the best way I can describe it. So Liz, why don't you tell us your perspective on this?
Sorry, I was muted. My perspective is it changes minute by minute when you ask me about it. Cogno movement is such a dynamic modality. And I have to say that the way I describe it now is just changing the way that your nervous system talks to itself. So what Bill and I really discovered early on is that really nothing happens in your mind that doesn't have a corresponding feeling in the body first. And then scientifically, we found out it's proven that the body has a feeling and then the mind makes up what to think about it. So what we do with Cogno movement is we basically change the way the body feels. And then the mind just goes along. We've incorporated this conversation really with the nervous system and the body's natural ability to change it. We know that changing the eye movement changes the part of your brain that receives the message. So it will change the perspective of that feeling in the body. We know that the body takes on funny injuries in the nervous system that sometimes make zero sense, absolutely nonsensical, but change the way your whole life is. We found that through these natural processes that the body has, movements, eye movements, meridians, that we can change that conversation so quickly that even a person's core belief, their worldview, can be changed in minutes. And I think the funniest thing I found was early on in sessions, people would say one of two things. Is this real life? At the end, because they would feel so different. And the second thing would be, I feel like a different person. And this is the real discovery. You are. Your nervous system chooses your perspective and even the parameters of your whole life. And if you can shift it, when you can shift it quickly, life changes and all your perspectives change. So today, that's my answer. What is Cogno movement?
So let me, for the benefit, I'm going to be the advocate for the audience. So you're saying that you change the way the body feels by working on the nervous system, or is it vice? So it's not you change the way your brain works by doing things with the body.
Yeah, it's actually both.
Okay.
So we're focused on the body because we realize that the things that logical mind thinks are side effects of the nervous system, which Bill is so famous for saying expresses itself through feeling or sensation in the body. So it's not just emotion, it's literal pain. We have one of our famous stories that we tell of a person who the way the body was expressing this situation was a pinprick on the bottom of her foot. Now, the world view was that she was unlovable, even by God. I mean, can you imagine? So this pinprick, it felt like somebody was poking her in the foot with a needle. We focused specifically on that sensation because I didn't know even what it was about at the moment. Only she did. All I knew is that her body was expressing this very specific sensation, physical. So where we found the love of God part was in an eye movement combined with this pinprick. And all of a sudden, she said, "Oh my God." And I'm thinking, what? Because I'm on the outside. This is all happening inside. She was seeing herself as a 10-year-old girl on the streets of Russia and a school bus or a city bus going by. And her arch nemesis was in that window of that bus. And the girl gave her a shoulder like, oh, who are you? Or the kid might have been constipated. We don't know. But the person my client, who's now a practitioner, by the way, her little 10-year-old body thought, that girl thinks I'm less than her. She felt worthless in that moment. And we know that nervous system setup had to do with everything, her brain development in that moment, maybe what her mom said before she left the house, the weather that day. But it installed in her nervous system, I'm not worthy, not even of the love of God, and it expressed itself in a pinprick at the bottom of her foot.
Okay. Well, did she come to you, Liz, saying, I have a pinprick feeling in the bottom of my foot, I don't know what that is, or I have this feeling that I'm not loved, or like, what was the issue that the individual had when they came to you? Or was it was being expressed as a pinprick, but it reflected something bigger? But when the person came to you, what did they say?
That's interesting, because this was part of a session, a seminar. In that moment, what she was working on is just a bit of frustration that she wasn't achieving a specific goal in her work. So at that moment in time, that was the topic. And so our question is, well, where's your body expressing that? What do you feel right now? A pinprick on the bottom of the foot.
Okay.
During this session, we discovered it's a glitch in the eyes, and that's one thing we look at. And that glitch in the eyes combined with that pinprick on the bottom of the foot revealed this very core perspective that she wasn't lovable, not even by God.
Okay.
So here's the part that is so amazing. All of a sudden, that sensation on the bottom of the foot released with this realization of where that feeling came from. And she looked like somebody turned on 1,000-watt light inside her body. And she had, I feel it. I feel it. She just all of a sudden felt what it would feel like to feel loved by people, her family, her mom, and possibly God. But the point is, it manifested in a pinprick on the bottom of the foot. That's what we're focused on. So very, very physical.
Okay. Folks, I first discovered Bill on seeing him interviewed on Gaia TV, and I was so impressed with his healing practices and his user-friendly rewiring protocols, and again, his generosity of spirit, that I wanted to have on the show. And we're both in San Diego. So Bill has graciously worked with me to help me clear my own personal blockages on a number of occasions using a variety of techniques. So I'm hoping we can discuss more of those, including, of course, what Liz just had to say. But let's first start with the soccer ball, because Bill had this idea and he decided to use a soccer ball to deploy that. And I've worked with Bill and the ball, which has patches of different colors on it. Bill, tell us why the ball? How did you come up with this as an instrument? How does it work? And when is it deployed? For those of you watching on YouTube, Bill's got the ball in his hand right now.
All right. Well, thank you for that. This, as you say, on YouTube, here it is. I just had an idea. I had worked with a lot of people, and I had studied a lot of different modalities, a very long list, and in process of helping people over a decade with whatever problem they kind of walked in the door with. I had thousands. Which was a big learning process for me of what was working, what was not working. One of the topics that was of great interest to me is how the brain worked, your neurology, and all things related to processing issues. And I was thinking one day, well, I knew your right brain, it sees three-dimensional objects in time and space. And the left brain sees colors and symbols. So I knew that. And I also knew that anytime, from other things I had studied, anytime we move your physical body from one side of the center line to the other side of the center line, we move information across the lobes of the brain. Now, the left side of your brain is the part that you have stress. It's the logic part of your brain. The right side of the brain is that creative side of the brain. It doesn't feel stress. There's some wonderful, if you have a chance, not to divert, but there's a TEDx talk. It's called, God, I forget the name of it, but basically it's where the woman's left side of her brain died she was a neurologist, and it's called a stroke of insight. She had a stroke and the left side of the brain died. You can see that, look it up, stroke of insight on TEDx, which illustrates this. But moving information. So when we're in stress or have a problem, left brain function, so moving information across to the other lobe of the brain, and it just kind of grew from there. Where Liz had added all of these wonderful techniques to further access other parts of the brain. Like, for example, when your eyes are down, they access the kinesthetic or the feeling part of you. And when the eyes are level, they access the auditory function. And when the eyes are up, they access kind of the visual. And with each one of these, there is the logic and the creative, right? So we began to experiment with this and how to not only move information with these different movements, Cogno, which is the focus, and then movement, right? We started experimenting with different ways to do that, and incorporating more like your meridians in your body and how to stimulate a release through those at the same time. Ultimately, what happened is that we were able to kind of solve problems that no one else could solve. What I would call the really difficult problems.
Has anybody in the past been working in this area? I know one of the things we worked on together, Bill, was something that's kind of in the EMDR area, where using horizontal and vertical lines where you're looking up and down. But for Cogno movement overall and using the soccer ball, when you were studying and developing this, was anything out there from the past that you use as a spring off point?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, EMDR was a spring off point. I probably had over 1,000 sessions helping people, but that was one of the springboards, but there were so many others, and the information would then just continue to come. Liz, you were going to comment on this.
Oh, just kind of the differences where EMDR.
What is for our audience? What is EMDR?
Go ahead, Bill.
So eye movement desensitization and reprogramming. It is a moving your eyes from left to right while focused on an issue. Okay. So it is, the beauty of it is that it has a lot of research, a lot of scientific research, and it's utilized for PTSD or other issues to help people to desensitize them to the traumas.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Liz. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. That was a good answer, Bill. So we actually, EMDR is one aspect, and we kind of get asked that a lot because there's the left and right eye movement. But Cogno movement is actually a conglomeration of many, many, many things that already work on their own. And when Bill and I were building this, it was really important to us that each individual thing that we do could create what's called a brain remap. And with Cogno movement, it's more like a neuro remap, meaning you're changing the pattern of the electromagnetic hormonal signals in between the brain and the body. So we added things. In my background is as a master neurolinguistic programming practitioner with a focus on brain remapping. So we added pieces of that we already knew worked, combining it with things that look similar to EMDR. Sometimes we even use things that look like tapping, but combined, they create this powerful way to change the body. And more than anything, to turn off the fight or flight system, which we know gobbles huge amounts of energy. So that's where we really look at it. And then there's one more piece that I don't think Bill mentioned about the ball. We activate immediately all the learning centers of the body, auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. And the ball's a big one of those because it's complex geometric symbol, color, right? So that's that left side of the brain, touch and shape. So kinesthetic. Then we use a lot of language tools. So we tell the body, hey, body, we're going to learn a new way of being. So because of that, Cogno movement can be used for not just trauma, which is often what EMDR is used for, but for kids taking tests, for learning, for people, going and doing speaking engagements who are terrified. We had a story about that this week. For relationship, and then also for trauma. Okay. And it's very, very good at changing the physical pain as well.
Like a Formula F1 drivers, they need really to have good response times in between stimulus, and they need not only a quick response time, but they need to make the correct decision, right? When you're going at 200 plus miles per hour. So this is the type of technology that is utilized to create super performance.
Okay. All right, Guys Radio, your host, Robert Manni. My special guests are the founder and the leaders of the Cogno movement, Bill McKenna, Liz Larson. Liz, you touched on a magic word, relationships, and we're not really referring to romantic relationships per se, but really relationships between people. So how does Cogno movement, how can it impact that? I know Bill and I did a lot of work, and maybe we can get into that as we get a little further, but what is the kind of foundation of how you can work on interpersonal relationships using Cogno movement? Because there's the ball, but the ball isn't the only tool.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite topics. I think they're all my favorite. This is one of my real favorite. So how Cogno movement looks at relationship is really based on the idea of a calibrated loop. What a calibrated loop is I do this, so you do that. Well, because you do that, then I do this, and we go round and round. So if you think about relationships, if you've known somebody more than 10 minutes, this is really important. This is how we build whatever rapport we're going to have, because if I do this, I can kind of trust that you're going to do that. And if you do that, then you can kind of trust that I'm going to do this. So pretty good system until we get into one that we don't like. So when I do this, it irritates the hell out of you. And so you do that. Well, I'm going to react to that. Round and round and round we go. So with Cogno movement, we change the neurological reaction in one person, because that's what it is. We realize, but we're not even talking to each other half the time. We're talking to each other's neurology. They're having the conversation. And that goes back to before birth, how your neurology is set up, right? So you may say something that seems completely benign or even lovely to you, and the other person is instantly irritated or hurt or offended. Well, that's because their nervous system is reacting, not their logical mind.
A question?
Go ahead, you want to ask a question?
Yeah. Is that based on the words or tone or a combination?
It is based on everything. We are so subtle. It's based on the way you're standing. It may be based on the fact that your mustache looks like my Uncle Freddie, and I didn't like my Uncle Freddie. It can be based on the way you smell. I know people that I've met and I think, I really like them. I shouldn't like them, but they smell amazing, right? Or the opposite is true. So it's based on a lot of things. So our nervous systems are set up and are so complex to read all these things. So how is it useful? If you're having a problem with someone, there is a very specific physical sensation that goes with that problem, with that person. We change one of the people, get their nervous system to where they feel neutral or better about the situation of the person. Now there's no more calibrated loop. The next time you're in vicinity of that person, your nervous system's at neutral. There's no you do this, so I do that. Amazingly, the other person feels it so profoundly that they're changed as well. I mean, we have story after story. I'll tell you a really brief one, and it's about my husband. He says he can't understand how I'm witchcrafting him when I'm not even there. That's what he calls what I do. So he's working, and one of the guys is on disability, not disability, sorry, but on light duty, hurt himself. And he's kind of lurking around everybody else because he's not working. And he said the whole crew kind of started to get irritated by him. My husband was getting increasingly irritated and actually even snapped at the guy, which he doesn't normally do. He said all of a sudden he heard my voice in his head and he thought, why am I so irritated by this? What does it have to do with me? And he realized he was kind of reacting to the collective. Everybody's irritated, so I'm irritated. So he relaxed his body. And I think he said he walked out of the building and thought, I have no reason to be upset with him. It's none of my business what is wrong with, what's going on with him. Changed environment, changed eye position, came back in. And when he walked back in, this man walked up to him and just put a love bomb on him. Just talked about what great work he does. He's an older, more experienced man, how much he admired him. So that instant change in my husband's neurology and then subsequent belief system changed the relationship right now in real time. So that's what we're doing in relationship, changing the calibrated loop through the nervous system, not through the logical mind, because trying to change the logical mind is really like arguing with a toddler or a terrorist. So nervous system's easier.
Now, because Cogno movement is so multifaceted, it's fascinating. I'm still learning about it as Bill works on me because I have so many issues, I guess. But one of the things when I have vented to Bill, because we're friends now, and I'll tell him about a situation, and he's like, this is a great opportunity. Wow, you should be really thankful for that. And we go through the process of discussing it. And inevitably, he will ask me, ask yourself, have I ever done something that mirrors that person's behavior in the similar type situation, or maybe in other types of relationships that, maybe it was a business issue, but maybe I've done that thing with relationships with old girlfriends or whatever. And it really is it's something that anybody can take on, to just ask yourself, when somebody's really annoying you, ask yourself, well, have I ever done what they're doing? Maybe not in the same way, like in this situation, maybe the context is business, but have I done that with a family member, in terms of friendship, in terms of relationships, whatever? How is that, Bill? This one's for you. How does that relate to Cogno movement? Is it part of Cogno movement? And really, could you put a kind of a ribbon around what I just articulated or attempted to?
Yeah. So this is a really, thank you. Oh, you're so great. I love working with you, Robert.
Thank you.
So when we have a situation, let's say I have a situation with my boss and I'm super irritated at him for, let's say, trying to silence me, and then I'm like, I find myself in a reaction, right? How do I know there's something in it for me? How do I know? This is super important. If you get this one thing out of the interview and this is all you get, listen up. This is so going to change your life. Your body will tell you if you have done this before. Your body is going to tell you. So I'm going to have a reaction that I cannot control, and it's very strong. And it lasts more than just a few minutes. I'm into the afternoon with that. It happened in the morning, and now I'm into the afternoon with this, or a week or a month, or if you're like me, decades. So I'm a little bit of a slow learner, right? I got it now. I got the training wheels off the bicycle finally. But the problem, right? The body will tell you. Another way to look at this is the body tells me when I have karma, meaning I've done this type of thing before. And we humans try to escape this. And here's how we try to escape it. Well, in business, I have never treated anybody like that, ever. I did this, right? I'm talking about me, right? And then me. And then I was like, but I knew the truth of this bodily neurological response, right? The body is not going to lie to you. It's going to tell you the truth. And I was like, where is it? Where is it? I've never done it. Where is it? Well, I did it to every girlfriend I ever had. So I learned my lesson. I was like, oh, no. Okay. Thank you, boss, for coming into my life and teaching me and showing me. And thank you to all the girlfriends. Thank you. I'm so sorry. But you are all part of my lesson here on the planet Earth. And the ending of this is super simple and super easy. And that is stop doing it. I know what it feels like to do it. I know what it feels like to have it done to me. If I want the cycle to end, I simply stop doing it. Now, how does this relate to Cogno movement? Well, guess what? The response in my body is set off. If I don't know what it is, right? Where did I do this? You can utilize your body through movement. You start to move your eyes in a big circle. And there'll be a place where the eyes feel like they're sticking. And therein lies the answer. You will see, oh, I see where I did it. And so this would be one example of how we can utilize, how not only we utilize the feeling in our body and we utilize our eyes and we find the lesson. There you go, Bill. Stop doing it. And like that, the anger, the reaction goes away. And I mean, it's like somebody turned off a light. I've gone from a level 10 anger to a 0 in like just 2 minutes because I learned my lesson. And it's kind of weird. It's almost, I start laughing afterwards because I'm laughing at myself.
Okay, question. So for our listeners, so they've gone through the process of saying however, and they realize, well, maybe I haven't done this in business, but I did this with my ex-girlfriend or whatever. And then they're going to roll their eyes around. So is that clockwise or counterclockwise, or does it matter?
It really doesn't matter either direction. But what does matter is that you're rolling your head, keeping your head level.
Okay.
And here's be an example. You keep your head level. We utilize the Cogno movement ball with this as a focal point, and with this slow, very, very slow. The pace of a let's call it the walk of a lizard, very, very slow, and or a turtle, and you're just very, very slowly moving your eyes all the way to their furthest perimeter of where they'll move.
Okay, let me stop you there. So you get to the point where you feel that something's sticking. Okay, what do?
What you do is ask the question, have I ever? Have I ever? Or what is here?
Okay.
What's here? The discovery here is that, as we talked about earlier, Cogno movement gives you a window in to your subconscious. When the eye position where it's sticky or double vision or feels a little bit dry or you don't want to look, this is the area of the problem and it's the area of the solution. A window into what my subconscious thinks about all this.
Okay, so I'm trying to help our listeners. So they get to that point, they discover there's something there. They get the insight as to, oh, I think I know what this is. What do they do next?
When they're there and they said, oh, have I ever? And then they see, oh my God, I did this. Oh my God, I see where I did it. I did it to all these people. And oftentimes when you see whoever you did it to, there's two things that'll happen is, well, this has nothing to do with that. That's the first denial, right? You want to keep your position, right? But But knowing, for anybody who's listening to this, you're interested in growing. So here, you might be filled with regret. Oh my God, I feel so bad about I did that. Well, the solution is, okay, I'm so sorry that I did that, but grief, that guilt only has a productive shelf life of 2 seconds. I was off track. Jeez, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't relate it. I didn't understand. I'm going to stop it now. And as soon as you're like, I'm going to stop it now. Gratitude for the players in your play. Before we ever got to the planet Earth, we hired people. We agreed. We had an agreement. I'm going to play this role for you, and you'll play that role for me. I have the boss who's going to be the perpetrator, and I got the girlfriend who's going to be the victim. Okay, thank you all for being in my play. Thank you for showing me and helping me to grow.
So at that point, Bill, so they've got that kind of epiphany, if you will, and they're at that point. Should they then continue the circle with their eyes to see if there's anything else stuck there, or is that it? And if so, if they continue, they just go around once, or how does that work?
With these things, right? You go at it until your body will tell you the truth. Am I done? If you've gotten to the truth right here, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll stop now. I'm sorry, everybody. Boom, the neurology turns off. The feeling goes away, and the eye, wherever those your eyes were, the double vision goes away, the pulling goes away, it all goes away.
Okay.
So maybe you do it for a full round. Maybe it only took the one position. Typically, it's good to go for at least one round.
Okay. I think we've got time for one more topic. We're going to have to be pretty quick, but Guys Radio, my special guests, Liz Larson and Bill McKenna, we're talking Cogno movement. Bill, you taught me once, and I also saw you on Gaia talking about this, and I don't know if it's too deep a dive for right now, but at least let's touch on it. And Liz, of course, please weigh in, and maybe you want to lead this one. It's up to you guys, but you mentioned that everything out there is in our field. So people are very concerned and interested in manifesting these days, and it's all there. Anything you can think of, anything that you want is already out there. It's a matter of our being able to kind of grab it, pull it in, and access it. Could you guys, the two of you, please kind of just give us what we need to know in an encapsulated version for now?
Well, I'll start if it's okay.
Sure.
So this is something that Cogno movement kind of explains so expertly, in my opinion, and I'm biased, but that we have a couple of fields. One is this field of potential. It's right around us. It's 6 to 8 feet. The Heart Math Institute actually measured it, the electromagnetic field around your body. And it turns out that, those same electromagnetic signals that, remember I said electromagnetic, hormonal, chemical, that run on your power lines, we generate a field. They generate this field. And every one of our perspectives or perceptions that run in our nervous system potentiate or fill up that field with our thoughts in the moment. If I'm angry at Bill because he's annoying the crap out of me, sure enough, that's right here in my field because my nervous system is generating it. It's giving it electricity. So our understanding is that field around us is what we have going on, and it's what we're going to experience because we're generating it. And then the greater field just matches it. So if I'm mad at Bill and he's annoying me, I'm going to find 5 other people in the day that are going to annoy me too. And I'm going to annoy them on top of it because we're just a match. It's like sending the radio signal, and the beacon that's tuned to it just sends the signal right back. So we know that when we change the way the nervous system is running, we just change the signal. Turn it off and power on something else. But we've also discovered that we can touch it in that field as well. It's palpable. It has a physical mass to it. And we can move it around in that field as well. But the biggest idea is that we have so much control over it because we can change the signal we generate, which changes the thing that we match it with. So I don't know. I find that very exciting. And we find that we can change things minute to minute. Sometimes things take years and days, but most of the time it's minute to minute because we change that signal and change our perspective.
So let me throw this one to you, Bill. So if we're creating our own reality by what we're sending out there. If there's something that we want, why is it out there? And then how do we break through what we're creating to get to the thing we want and pull it in?
Well, there's this is a whole big subject. We developed something called Cogno Quantum. You can see that at cognomovement.com. But how do we break through and begin to bring it in? Cogno Quantum will accelerate that because literally it's something that you can physically pull in to your field, into your body from the field. Your body is a transformer. There's the ancients knew about this, that our body is a transformer. Things go in the material world from thought and inspiration to actually a thing. And when they're in the thought process, whatever it might be, good or bad, it creates this kind of bioenergy mass in your field. Now, I know that sounds nuts, and years ago I would have been going, this is about time to change the channel, but I'm telling you, this is real science today. There's devices at universities called it Encephalography, and what they are is everybody's familiar with EEGs. This is a magnetoencephalography is what it is, MEG, and they can actually sense outside of your head without the sensors attached to your head, the actual electrical charge outside of your body for every thought, and they can map it to a particular part of your brain. This is so incredibly thick that you can reach out with your physical hand and touch it in your field. If you right now in the audience think about the most horrific experience in your life and ask yourself, where is that in the field around me? You already know, you have a good idea. If you slowly open your hand and reach out towards it, you'll probably notice if with your hand you feel a thick mass. It feels like thick air, like air jello, or heat, or cold, or even some cases people will feel like a static shock on their hand when they reach out into that traumatic experience. The point being is there's a lot more to this, but that thing can, if it's, let's say, something you're wanting to have in your life, there's a methodology to accelerate it. Part of the acceleration is dealing with the things that are in the way. Even though I want to win the lottery, I may have some feelings like if I do, then my brother-in-law is going to come after me, and everybody's going to want, I'm going to have to give half to my wife, and I'm going to have to, whatever. And there's going to be people showing up at my door looking for handouts, or kidnapping my whatever, right? So there are little objections that we put in our way of manifesting. And so we have basically a process to start to find those. They're hidden. Amazingly, they're hidden, but there's a process to find the hidden ones. And as soon as you find them, poof, you can make them go away.
Okay. Bill McKenna, Liz Larson, Cogno Movement, fascinating. We can go on and on and on. I'm sure we'll do it again. Very quickly, what do you have coming up, and how can people learn more about Cogno Movement?
Well, I'll start with that. The real place to start with Cogno Movement is we have a fundamentals program, a basic training where people we just break it down very simply, and they get all the pieces and the balls, and they learn how to do it for themselves. So we have a set that's emotional, craving, and physical. So you can kind of do the whole gambit, and Bill leads the session. So you can do it. That's the place to start. So you kind of understand the system because, like you said before, it can feel a little overwhelming and kind of complex. It's very simple when you get in there. So there's that. We have practitioners training that is coming up starting at the end of the month. So that's appropriate for somebody who's done our basic training. But also for professionals, therapists use this all the time. Physical therapists love this as well. And then just everyday people. And then the 19th coming up, we have a manifesting class that is happening. It's a 6-week class, about 90 minutes a week. And we're going to take you through that process Bill was just talking about.
Okay. And the website is?
Cognomovement.com.
And I also want to mention Bill's written a book. It's called The Only Lesson. It's terrific. I'm not going to give away what the lesson is, but it's a quick read that's really about something. You'll love it. I learned a lot. Check it out. Bill McKenna's book, The Only Lesson. Bill, Liz, thank you so much for being on Guys Radio. I'm sure we will see you again here. Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
If you enjoy the guests and content I bring you each and every week on Guys Radio and TV, please support us by subscribing to our channels. Thanks.